All right. Hello and welcome back. Brett here with ClickMail, and we're going to continue with some prompt engineering. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to want to do is when we're talking to the AI, we want to provide it with context. And so this AI, these AIs can, what do you want to say? They kind of think like a person. Obviously, they're also kind of a robot, so it's a weird mix. And we've, if you're watching this, we've talked about this in future videos. But when it would be like if I'm talking to somebody I've never met and I'm asking them to solve a problem for me, but I haven't actually told them any details of the problem. I haven't given them any context. They don't know that I work with ministries. They don't know that I work online. They don't know that we write blogs and do search engine optimization. They don't know me from anyone. Now, these AI tools are going to and already have started to become more personalized, and they're taking certain specific bits of information. Even now, guys, when I'm talking with ChatGPT, it is saying, for example, what did I say? I looked up, I said, write a blog on atheism, and it wrote a blog without my prompting on how to share the gospel with an atheist because it knows our site and it knows other conversations. They've started doing that. So this will become less of an issue over time. It actually will know you. But right now, we need to provide context. And in the future, we'll still need to provide context, just not as much. But, so for example, if I am, asking my wife for, lunch, and I go, hey, can I get my favorite lunch? And she's like, yeah, sure, no problem. Well, she's basing that on a whole bunch of context that's backlogged in her memory. She knows what I like to eat and all this stuff. AI has no idea what that is. So if I tell AI, you know, go on to the Sam's Club website and order my favorite lunch, it's going to order a bunch of random stuff because it doesn't know what I want. So we need to provide it the context of what's going on. And so it's, for example, um, I wrote a paper on philosophy, and I spent like 5 years or 6 years writing this paper. And I wanted the AI to run through it with me and help me to check it for logical errors. So I had to first say, you are a brilliant Christian philosopher, and you're helping a colleague edit and revise their paper, and your goal is to give them constructive feedback that allows them to work out any holes in their reasoning. So you're a logician, you're a philosopher, and the context is here is the context of the paper. We're talking about this issue over here and this issue over here, and these are the normal arguments, and this is what the paper is trying to do. So then, and then also feeding it in the paper. So it has the full scope of information it needs to know what's happening in the environment around it, if that makes sense. So we want to provide context to the AI so that it knows so that it has more information with which to sort of make a decision and to make the right decision. Do you guys have any questions on providing context or what that would look like? Is that clear enough?
Yeah, it's very clear. I also share the same opinion because if we don't give the AI a context, it might write something very far from what we need. But
Right.
also, personally, I think that there's some other side of that. Um, it may give us a context that we don't want or don't need. Might
Right.
give it, but we don't need it. And we might need a completely different kind of context.
Yes.
So we must always be careful and provide the context that we need in this particular time.
Yeah. And I think too, to your point there, Kate, is sometimes, and this is something called temperature in the back end of these AIs, there are temperature settings between, uh, I believe it's 0 and 1. So it's 0.1, 0.2, all the way up to 0.9 and then 1.0. And a temperature setting is a creativity setting. And basically, if you say take a temperature of 1, what that means is increase the randomness, increase the creativity in your output. So like be really crazy and wild and out there and just give me something, whatever you're feeling. And if you want like super normal standard answers, you would put it lower. So the creativity is lower. Like, well, this is an email to my boss, so keep the temperature at like a 0.2 over here. Be polite, be courteous, give the right answer, and don't do anything weird. In the same way to that, when we're giving it context, if we give it a loose context, we're allowing it some room for creativity, saying, hey, you know, you suggest the context. And that could be very helpful in some situations, while in other situations, we would want to tighten that context. And sometimes what I find myself doing is prompting it either intentionally or unintentionally, but the context isn't quite tight enough. And then it sort of fills in the context. And sometimes it's like, well, that's actually really cool. I wouldn't have thought of that. So that can be a positive. But if you're trying to get the specific output, then it can be unhelpful. And if that's the case and you see it creating its own context, you go, oh, okay, it doesn't know what I'm talking about. Let's actually specify more information. Okay. Sophie, you doing all right with that?
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we're going to move on to our next sort of point on prompt engineering.